Hi, everyone. Again, thank you for having me here today. My name is Iliana. I work at Asociación Puertorriqueños en Marcha, or APM, and we're located in North Philadelphia. I have been working at APM as a program coordinator for about 6 years now, and mostly in their community economic development department. So working very closely with a range of different things that go on with zoning and with development in the community. So a little bit about APM. So APM is a health and human services organization, additionally to being a community development organization. It's been around since 1970, and it was founded by Puerto Rican veterans in the community. APM serves about 40,000 Philadelphians annually, since our services are open to the entire city. And the primary pillars of support services are health, family and children, and community economic development. And on this slide, we have a picture of APM's original building in the community, as well as a picture of the founders. And here is a snapshot of our locations in the North Philadelphia area. So just a lot of concentration in sort of like the central north area, and then spanning out to Juniata and in Montgomery County as well. So a bit about our physical development. Folks at CPI thought it would be interesting for me to talk a little bit about our physical development. So APM does have a history of, as a developer in the neighborhood, building affordable rental housing and affordable home ownership. For the past almost 30 years now. The department was established in 1990. And ever since then has developed more than 478 units of affordable rental and home ownership units. And here is a portfolio of APM's, some of APM's developments. So on the upper left, we have Jardines de Borinquen, which is a picture of a set of apartments that we have that kind of look like row homes, but they are apartments. On the top right, we have our Pradera homes, which kind of look like suburban style townhomes. At the bottom, we have Borinquen Plaza. So this is a cousin supermarket that APM developed in 1999, as well as a TrueMark credit union that was developed a little bit later. I think it was like 2008. And this is APM's Paseo Verde transit-oriented development. This is a sort of aerial picture of a large mixed-use, mixed-income development. So this building houses our central offices. It has a PHMC clinic, a pharmacy, and affordable rental units. And this building is sort of really unique. It is a triple LEED certified neighborhood development. And at the time, I believe it was one of the first in the country to gain that designation. So it's an incredibly energy efficient building, very eco-friendly, and it is affordable housing. And the sort of the mixed uses, which is like the pharmacy and the health center, those were all decided by the community because in the neighborhood at the time, there was not any kind of like walkable health centers in the area. Those are things that usually folks in the neighborhood had to like leave the community to access. So this was something that was really necessary in the neighborhood. And our most recent development is the 8th and Berks Senior Development. So this is going to be affordable senior housing in the community, and it is currently under construction. And just for some reference about how this development happens for a CDC, this development, this envisioning right here, this picture, like it's a front-facing picture of the development and sort of like the front door. This was created in 2014 as part of a charrette design process with DHCD and the community. So it has taken us 6 years or so to sort of get everything together to actually be able to break ground on this. And sort of physical development is one aspect of what we do at the organization and in our department. We also have a financial opportunity center, a housing counseling center, and the area that I work in the most, which is community strategic planning and engagement. So I'm mostly on the ground with our team of community connectors, just kind of working with the community on all different kinds of projects. It'll be greening, it'll be community cleanups, organizing efforts, different things like that. And here are some pictures of our community connectors, and it's a group of intergenerational community members. Our community connectors span from ages 14 to like 62. So it's a really intergenerational group. And here we have pictures of them painting the front of a house, painting a curb, taking information from community members on a map. The connectors also helping out with a gardening workshop, and also working on a parklet design. So there's a picture of community connectors surrounded by cones and cardboard boxes on a parking spot. And so one of the projects that we have been working on for the past 3 years is exploring Germantown Avenue. And this project actually came out of our RCO conversations. So I think for those of us that have been to RCO meetings, have participated in them, we know that they can be very, very tense spaces. There can be a lot of frustrations, right? Just a lot of like intense feelings, mostly negative. And so one thing that we were hearing in our meetings is people feeling a lot of like loss at these meetings, right? A lot of frustration, a lot of pain about what had been in the neighborhood before, the kind of amenities that the community members had grown up with. And over the years, because of disinvestment and other kinds of political issues, those things had left. They had been, taken away. There used to be movie theaters, there used to be donut shops, museums, hotels, different things like that, lots of factories. And that was all gone. And I think if you've ever walked in this area in North Philadelphia, you will mostly see a lot of vacant lots. There would be like entire blocks that would just be vacant lots. And so the community had a lot of frustrations over that. There was a lot of defensiveness over that, of what was coming in that was not meeting those needs. So this project, was really us leaning into that. Like, okay, let's experience that. Like, what was lost? Let's find it. Let's make a list of all the things that were lost. So we ended up partnering with a Temple University professor who basically has had her class over the last couple of years do a lot of the archival work for us. So finding all of these pictures and histories, right, and documents that focus on these places that the community was bringing up, like, the Diamond Theater. That was a place that people remember going. It was like Teatro Puerto Rico at some point. So a lot of the Puerto Rican community remember going there to watch movies in Spanish. And so, there's a whole history of that. And, that's not there anymore. One of our staff members had gone on her first date with her husband to Teatro Puerto Rico. So there was a lot of like history like that, is an asset to our RCO process, right? It brings a lot of value. We need that emotion, and we need that as sort of a beacon of hope of like, we got to bring all this stuff back, right? This is a community that is thriving and can continue to thrive through this development that is happening. But it really is using, right, these emotions to drive that force. So this project, like, the students brought up all these pictures, the community members shared their stories that were coupled with the pictures. And we had a community event where people got to walk through these sites. And at the end of it, we designed an activity where they got to envision the rest of the corridor for the future. So what would you bring back, right? If we had storefronts, what would you want in them? Because that helps us as well in terms of like, when there's one of our commercial properties that's being like, they're trying to zone it into residential, there's a way for us to advocate like, hey, is there any way that you can keep a part of that commercial? Because we want some of that commercial in here. So, and it's really helped our community members also sort of drive in that direction of like, these are the things that we want. These are the things that we're hoping to see in our neighborhood as it changes. So this is one of the projects that we use as a sort of tool to really enhance our RCO process. And this is a snapshot of Eastern North Philadelphia. So on the left, we have a map that sort of has a outlined area of where APM focuses a lot of its efforts on. And it shows arrows pointing in where are, the sort of development forces coming in. So we have development pressures from Temple, right? From Fairmount, from Northern Liberties, from Fishtown, from Kensington. So all of that development is sort of closing in on this area. And we've seen it change dramatically, right? In the last couple of years, in 2010, there were 780 vacant lots in this one area. Now there are 143. Just in the last 10 years, that's 600 lots. So that also impacts the organization's ability to develop affordable housing and other organizations' ability to develop affordable housing. And this is the building permits that have been issued over time. So in 2007, 4, and now in 2021, 140. And we can also see this reflected in the housing prices, how much our house is selling for. So prior to 2015, 50% of the homes were selling for around $80,000 to $100,000. Now 50% of the homes are selling above $200,000. And now we have a range from $169,000 to $450,000 for houses being sold. So that's how that has changed in terms of affordability. And this is some of the demographic changes that have happened between 2000 and 2019. So you can see here how racial demographics are shifting. They're either going up or going down in the last 10 years. And also shifts in income. So in 2010, there was about, the average income was about $15,000. In 2019, that income bracket has diversified in the neighborhood. So only 20% of the neighborhood is between 25,000 to 50,000, 24% between 50 to 150,000, and still half of our population is below $25,000 a year. So some of the organizing that we've done around RCOs has, again, largely been about building community capacity and civic capacity in the neighborhood, because the RCO process is participatory, right? It demands that you have the capacity to participate and to sustainably participate, to stay involved, because some of these projects, they're not just about having one meeting. Sometimes you need to stick it out for the long run. You need to show up not just to the RCO meeting, but you need to show up to the ZBA meeting. It's a tremendous time commitment. And sometimes it can be like really daunting to participate and to get involved, but it's necessary, right? So one of the things that we did is that we really focused over the past 4 years or so on organizing, empowerment, and education. So we actually organized a couple of community teach-ins where we had actually one of the members of the Mantua community who worked on the rezoning process there come to the neighborhood and host a teach-in where he shared his experiences with the community at one of the churches of him going through that process, right? Of what that was like. So we also work with Spiral Q, right, to do some arts engagement. So the community got to sort of design a poster and a message. And that message was not meant to, it was really meant to sort of get their community invested and involved and interested. Sort of like, our community is not for sale. They wanted to put that on their windows to say like, hey, like, you know, what are folks talking about? Like, what is this about? So they really wanted to catch the attention of their local community. And here is a picture of a community parade that we hosted, where we had the final poster that was designed by a local youth artist with the community members who participated in the teach-ins, who really wanted to organize around these issues. And so we had a community parade where we distributed these posters to the neighborhood along like a 3-mile route. And predatory home buying. So this comic was something that we also designed during this process. This is actually a legislation that just passed recently that protects homeowners from being solicited for their home. I'm sure some of you have received like flyers and phone calls and emails just trying to, you know, people saying we'll give you cash for your home. Well, there's a lot of like danger in that process for community members, especially vulnerable community members. I definitely recommend for everyone to, if you're a homeowner, sign up for the list, and also check out the CLS page on this process, because it is really informative, and you know, it can be really helpful, really an asset to fighting displacement in communities, because predatory home buying adds to that displacement. So this is something else that we really focused on as well, is creating a sort of infographic for our community about our RCO process. So this was really important. It was like, how do we explain this process in a way that is accessible, right, easy to read, and it really encourages people to, you know, join us or to just get informed about the process. So we created this infographic based on our process, right? So very similar to what you've been reading about how RCOs work. And we also encourage people to look up their other local RCOs, because RCOs overlap. So in the area that we work with, we have about 4 or 5 different RCOs. So those are all actively getting selected as a coordinating RCO for developments that sometimes are like right next to each other. So we do a lot of coordination between RCOs to make sure that we're working strategically and together. So just to like zoom in a little bit, just to like help our community navigate, like, where do you find this stuff? So, you know, making sure that you have the atlas.gov, we have a phone or a computer, they can type in their address and scroll to the little zoning picture, and they can find a table with all of the RCOs in their community. So we're hoping to make it as streamlined as possible and as explanatory as possible. And then just explaining our RCO process. RCO processes are very different for organizations, but ours follows the city's process almost to very, very closely. So the RCO team schedules a preliminary review meeting and requests materials from the developer, right? Preliminary meeting. So we try to have a preliminary meeting before the actual meeting to give community members and the developer sort of a space to talk a little more informally about the project. And then we also sort of lay out how the process works in the actual meeting, where we schedule the meeting with affected members, affected RCO, and developers to vote on the proposed development. So our RCO largely goes with the vote from community members. What the community decides is what we ultimately write in our letter. This is how like votes are counted. And then we also talk about attending the ZBA process, because sometimes, even though we will submit a letter with our opinion and the community's opinion, attendance at the ZBA meeting can really be make it or break it, right? Because a decision hasn't been made until it's been made there. So we encourage people to go to the meetings. We go ourselves as much as we can. And I just want to talk about like types of anti-displacement efforts. So participating in your RCO is anti-displacement work, right? But so are like 20 other different things. Advocating for home repairs, that's anti-displacement work, right? How many of the seniors in the community have homes that are in dire need of home repairs, right? And that's sort of what ends up displacing them from their home, not so much the development pressures. Predatory home buying, also a huge displacement issue. Tangled title, a displacement issue. Working with CLS to bring them to the community to sort those out. Wills and estate planning kind of go in with tangled title as well, making sure folks are prepared with that, because there's a lot of issues that happen there with ownership. Foreclosure prevention, right? Sharing with neighbors the Save Your Home Philly hotline. And education about development. I mean, just like using infographics, right? Having community teach-ins, and also lowering and freezing property taxes, because at the same time, we're asking the community to show up and have the capacity to continue to show up. We got to make sure that they're good where they're at as well. And so part of our future approach is to, increase access to the City of Philadelphia solicitation list. So we basically are just right now going door to door to get people to sign up to the solicitation list, to make sure that they are informed about it and what actions to take if they are still solicited. Continue to work on community teach-ins with local partners. And continue to work with CLS and the Department of Revenue to, again, lower those taxes and get people the free legal support that they need. And advocating for home repairs. So we're also part of a committee that is advocating for home repairs, with funds from the state and at the local citywide level. And that is my presentation. I'm sorry if I was rushing through it, but I will be around. And here is my information and the location of our offices. Our offices are open 5 days a week, and there is always someone in-house that can help you with any of the issues that are being faced in the community. And yeah.
Thank you.